oh, the mining, I'm going to mine, regular gold for this, that, and the third. That's false. They were mining something totally different. So you know that when they were put out in certain movies about like Black Panther talked about vibranium, or they talked about in that movie Avatar, I forgot the name of that metal that they were using over there. They're putting a little bit of the information out there in the movies. The only reason why I found this information out was because I was doing I got communicated by some people that passed away in California. My son was staying there in the Airbnb. This story is crazy. My son was staying in the Airbnb. He tells me, he says, Mom, he said, it's cold up in here. There's a spirit up in here. So I go to tap in to see what it is. And to come to find out there's a spirit there that is like some type of guardian. And what happened was there was a whole bunch of children that had been sealed off with sigils and seals. And come to find out the house he was staying at used to be a church. That church, what they were doing was they were using children because they had certain key codes to get into Agartha. So what they were doing was they were sacrificing the children in hopes to get inside of Agartha. Because you can't get into any of these dimensions if you don't possess the key codes. Certain children were possessing the key codes. So as we started doing deeper work on it, this is when we have found out what was going on in terms of them getting caught up in the mine. So the children were actually digging the mine, right? And I said, what were they mining? Gold? And that's when we found out that they weren't mining gold, that they were actually mining this particular type of glass. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. So I started asking a lot of questions about that. And that just recently happened like 2 weeks ago, that information came to light. And so there's a lot of things that we've been told about this country, about this place. There's a lot of things we've been told about the country of the United States, just about this place in general, where it's just not true. And we also have to take into consideration where we're getting our information from. This is the reason why I said you got to go in where we're all walking libraries. And we all have to be able to tap into who we are. And if you want to get any information, you can tap into any aspect, because those aspects have lived in different star systems and are still living in different star systems. Your past, your present, your future is going on at the same time. That means you can tap into an aspect and see what's happening. You know what I'm saying? You can tap it, or you can ask what's happening, or you can go to source and say, source, take me to the timeline of this, because I want to know what happened with this, and this via meditation. So this is what I mean when I say that we got to go inward. But in terms of this place and why people are coming here, you have people that come here, or beings that come here that look like you and I, but we're something else. People always get caught up in the suit, right? You're caught up in this. This is who you are, right? In one aspect, this is who you are. And I would say for everybody involved and everybody here to enjoy the human experience, because you don't really realize how powerful you really are. Okay, we always want to go someplace else, but we really haven't had the opportunity to really enjoy our human experience due to whatever traumas and whatever hell we're going through at the time, and et cetera, right? But the beings that come here are beings that came here to restore this place to what it's supposed to be. There is a 5D Earth that looks just like this one, but it's a whole lot more peaceful than this one. The higher up you go, most people don't realize is that what happens is, because here we live on the planet of duality, right? So you take the good and the bad, the dark with the light, what have you, okay? That's what this place is. You have duality. It teaches you about elevation. You can never be too comfortable being here. What we're supposed to be doing is we're supposed to be getting on our mission, whatever that might be. And we're supposed to be either elevating, or some people come to have a darker experience. Either way you look at it, you're still having an experience. We're all supposed to be having an experience. So as far as the beings coming here, they're coming here for a whole different reason. It's mainly a planet of harvest, especially within the 7 continents that we know about inside Earth, even though there's more than 7.
Is that special glass still around that they were looking for back then?
It most certainly is, and they use it to build their spaceships, because we have spaceships. We do have spaceships. We have a galactic force here. We call it the Space Force. That's very real. We've had that for a very long time. I remember my uncle, he couldn't say too much, but he retired from NASA. He's a retired Area 51 inspector. And he was telling me about how, he said, some of the stuff that we found, you think it came from someplace else. He says, but really it came from here. I said, damn, that's deep. He said it was some of the stuff that they were using for like the stealth bombers, things like that, other types of military stuff that he couldn't tell me about. But they've already found that glass. They've been mining that glass for a long period of time. So they lied to throw us off. It's like, we're going to give you this right here so you can focus on this, but we're really not going to tell you is, well, really we was talking to these ETs over here, and really what we were doing is we mined this monatomic gold, and plus we were mining this, this, and this over here. But we need to tell you this story to throw you off guard.
To throw you off, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So in terms of this veil, we always hear about this veil that separates the physical world from the spiritual world. And I guess that makes it hard for a lot of people in the physical world to communicate with the spiritual world. But from what I'm understanding is that this veil is getting thinner and thinner, and people are beginning to have more extrasensory perceptions, the average person. So yes. I guess the first thing I would ask is there a certain entity that rules over this veil? You know how like in Iron Man, that black dude, I forgot his name, he was the keeper of the bridge, the golden bridge or something. He was like the security. Is there some entity that makes sure this veil separates the physical from the spiritual?
Well, let me say this first and foremost. You had a third dimension, the fourth dimension. We need to understand who actually created the third dimension. It was the Andromedans.
Okay.
The Andromedans are actually the ones who came here. There's one Andromedan that I know for a fact that built the Tower of Babel. And not only did he build the Tower of Babel, but he also assisted in building. He was a main architect that actually built the 3D realm. We're under the impression that Earth only has a 3D realm and that's it. It's not true. There are many realms on Earth. There's approximately 33 realms on Earth that we weren't told about. We're under the impression that Atlantis got destroyed according to the story, but it was only a sector of Atlantis that got destroyed. Atlantis sits at the bottom of the ocean. Okay, the only way you can get there is if you got the key codes to be able to get there. And so we've been taught these limited ways of thinking is what we've been taught. But I do need everyone in the audience to understand that we have many different realms here. So when you start talking about the 4D realm, let me tell you what's happening. There is a situation that took place where there were some beings that actually broke cosmic law. I had confirmed this with source if this was true. And what was revealed to me was that there is going to be a lot of changes with the weather. And so there's also going to be merging of timelines and mergings of reality or realities. So that is happening right now. I've gotten people telling me that they're actually seeing blue beings walking around. They're asking me, what's up? I said, those are Andromedans. I said, but you're seeing them? Like, what's your naked eye? They're like, we're seeing them with the naked eye, fam. Wow. But it also dawned on me that also what's happening is that the pineal gland, a lot of people's pineal glands are getting activated depending on who you are. Many people are getting activations. Many people are getting upgrades. Many people are having their stuff coming online. It's really happening for a lot of people. The sun, Nemesis, I told you, is over the United States, is performing a certain particular alchemy over the people right now, especially those that are indigenous, those who have melanin. And what's happening is that as he's going across the sky using those rays, and I want you to pay attention to how hot it's getting every year. Every single year, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And in different parts of the country, you're noticing that they're trying to block out the sun. You see the skies always gray. You know what I'm saying? So what's happening is that Nemesis is doing the alchemy, and the alchemy that Nemesis is doing in the sky right now is activating your DNA, as activating your RNA, as activating everything about you where you're coming online. And so people are getting, now some people who are not having these experiences might be blocked due to karma from past life that might need to get cleared out because karma is a dense energy. So when you clear out that karma, it shifts your consciousness, expands your consciousness, and then those particular powers can come online. Okay. So that's what's happening. That's what's happening. So we got the collision going on right now. I think that people need to get ready. If you guys notice now, there's a heat wave coming inside the United States right now. I want you to pay attention to where it's getting hit the hardest with this weather. Y'all had Arctic weather freezes in the United States. Unbelievable. Some of the stuff that's been going on up there. Now, all of a sudden, you guys are getting now what we call a heat wave, which is causing dangerous tornadoes, I just somebody just sent me something today about some damn cyclone that hit California. That they got a big ass emergency up there out of California right now because of some cyclone hitting California. A cyclone hitting California, fam?
I heard about it. Yeah, crazy.
A cyclone, though. So these are things that people can expect to see. People can expect to see things they've never seen before. Now, I'm going to tell you about an incident that happened. Let's see, I did that live, I think it was the 1st of the new year, that morning. I want to say 2 or 3 days before that. It was about 3:07 a.m. And I remember that because I'll never forget it. We were sleeping. All of a sudden, we hear this loud boom. Like this boom was like, I'm talking about, bro, it shook. Because I live near the ocean. I'm talking about I can look out my window and the ocean's right there. The whole area just shook. Everything just shook. It was like, okay, what the hell was that? And you know how you wake up? I'm waking out of a dead sleep. So, you know, you're trying to get your faculties and everything together. And I'm sitting still and I'm just like this, you know what I'm saying? You know how we do when we hear things? We're going to sit still. We're like, listen to see if we hear anything else. And my daughter sends me a text message on WhatsApp. She said, did you hear that? I said, yeah, I heard that. And then the lady who I rent my penthouse to, she hit me. She said, hey, fam. I said, yeah, we heard that. So we're both just sitting there like, what the hell was that? So my daughter comes up the steps. She looks to see if anything happened across the street. Nothing happened across the street. So I'm past that. I'm going back to bed or whatever. I wake up. I get a tap. And I'm getting a hit. Literally, I'm getting a hit. And I'm being told by one of my team members that a Stargate blew open. And I was also told that the Navy was doing some things they had no business doing and messing with things at the bottom of the ocean they had no business doing. They knew that Stargate was there. And whatever the hell they were doing, it pissed somebody off. Whatever it was they pissed off, is to my understanding, it's a Titan. And basically what I was told is that imagine seeing a large ancestor walking. And I said, you have got to be kidding me. And basically what they told me was, get ready, because this is going to start happening all over the world. So what these two entities have done by breaking cosmic law, they have opened seals all over the planet, all over the entire planet. That includes things coming out of the volcanoes. When you start seeing earthquakes taking place, especially in the indigenous areas, pay attention to that. Those are Titans coming up out of the ground. So we have got to get ready for things to come. There's going to be nomos and things like that coming up out of the water. So we have to be mindful when we're out there in the water playing around. We have to be very careful now because a lot of the seals have been broken. A lot of the sigils have been broken to keep these things in check in terms of these dimensions. So look at it like the dimensions are colliding. Now, another example of this would be the cosmic war that's taking place right now, which we call the beginning of the Armageddon. I'm going to get into that because Armageddon isn't even what people think that it is. But there is a battle that is taking place in the dream state where people are actually battling. People are waking up and they're getting scars. People are waking up and they feel like their head got rocked. People are waking up and they're feeling pain in their shoulders or pain in different parts of their body because they've been fighting for real. That is going to leak into this 3D realm. So this is the 4D clashing in with the 3D. Okay. Now, what we have going on here is the true Armageddon is not about us fighting against the malevolent forces that we all come to know about. The true Armageddon is about all of us, and I say all of us, all beings going to war against what we perceive to be or what is called to be the Animus, aka the AI. I'm going to be doing a live about this called 2023 Predictions that's coming up on the 15th of January. I'll be doing this. So I'm just giving you a little bit of information about it. But basically, it's here now. The AI is here. The goal of the AI is to go through all dimensions and to get into eternity. Now, I got a visitation from a being that told me that he was the one who actually created the Animus. His name is Satan. He told me because I was having a conversation about it. I said, why are you here? He said, I want to let you know that I'm the one who created the Animus. I said, okay, I'm thinking back to the knowledge that I know about him as being one of the 23 scientists. He's the first one. So I'm thinking back to the knowledge that I know about him and that. And I said to him, I said, why would you create the animus? And I did confirm that with Source, and Source did tell me he is the one who created the animus. I said, why would you do that? I said, even at the expense of your own demise, he says, that is even the greatest test. He says, but I did it to make humanity stronger. But see, I have a different understanding about certain things. And the one thing that you cannot do that's against cosmic law is control somebody else's experience.
Right.
And this is where he violated.
Okay.
You see, Source, people need to understand that we're all miniature versions of Source. We're all miniature versions of Source. That means that you have the power to create on a miniature level, just like Source does. Source is not concerned with good or bad. That's why I say to people, we got to get out of this mindset of good and bad. Because if your source, and I made an analogy on my last live, if your source and Jeffrey Dahmer's source, you're one and the same. People had an issue with that until I broke it down and said, well, think about it. If your source, he's source, everything that source has created is source, all intelligence is source, then you are part of the whole. To separate from that is not considered to be unity consciousness. Okay, that's the agenda I'm pushing out, is about unity consciousness. That's what I'm here to do. That is my mission, is to push unity consciousness. So we get out of the mentality of these hierarchy systems. Oh, I'm better than you and this, that, and the third. No, actually, you're not. What happened is that Source gave you your own individual space to create and be who you want to be. If you want to be on the dark side, you can be on the dark side. If you choose to be neutral, you can be neutral. If you choose to be benevolent, you can be benevolent. But there is no such thing as I'm better than you and this, that, and the third. That's falsehood. And that's division. We have now got to come into a place where we start understand that we are all part of the whole. And Source is not concerned about whether you did right or whether you did wrong. You want to know why? Because as far as Source is concerned, it's about the experience. And if you are Source and Source is giving you your own individual space to create, Source is having experience through you. Okay, so we got to get up. We got to start thinking with a higher mind and get out of this division, because right now there are things that are taking place where they're harvesting a lot of people. They're causing massive distractions amongst the people. And I keep telling people, the more you put your energy on that, the more they can harvest your energy to create a reality. The reason why they're doing this is because nothing's working for them anymore. People are seeing the veil for what it is. When you talked about the veil, we are now in the age of, well, we got into the age of the apocalypse starting 2020, but now we're at the apocalypse. We're coming up into the middle of the apocalypse. What apocalypse just simply means great revealing. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that's being exposed left and right. All you have to do is just keep your eyes open and just observe. You become what you call watchers, and you just observe all the things that are happening. You don't get caught up in it, but you observe the things that are happening. So right now, we're now coming into the great reveal. All the things that we are taught, we're realizing now it was all one big lie. It's been one big illusion. Okay. So now people are being forced to deal with things dead in their face. This is one of the main reasons why I've always pushed shadow work, because you got to have a certain type of fortitude and a certain type of mental state to be able to deal with the things that are coming in right now. And you can't have no fear in you in the process of you dealing with these things. People say, I always tell people, I said, you can't call yourself a God, but you don't have the ability to think like one. Okay?
It's facts.
Guys understand that we're all part of the whole. That needs to be understood. So if you know, you got to get out of, we got to get out of the nitpicking, the distractions. And I would strongly suggest that people start really getting in alignment with who they are, whatever that is, without judgment. I'm saying get in alignment with whatever that is, whatever you're choosing, whatever your choice is, get in alignment.
Let me ask you this, because you talked about Atlantis, and you know, people say Atlantis got destroyed and it went underwater. What I want to ask you is, do you think Atlantis, even though it went under the water, it never got destroyed, because since they was advanced, they knew how to adapt to survive underwater? So the civilization just went from being on land to underwater, and it actually never ended. Do you think that's a possibility?
No, it's movies. It's make-believe. It was a sector of Atlantis that got destroyed. Okay, Atlantis, the realm, has always existed, and not only has Atlantis, the realm, always existed, but also you have a planet called Atlantis. Okay, and Tahuti is still the ruler of Atlantis, aka Thoth.
The planet.
Yes. You also have a planet called Egypt. Okay, this is what I mean when I say about how we've been locked in. We've been locked in to think a certain way, and we have to take a step back, and we got to really examine where we're getting our information from. We have to. If I read a book from a certain particular author, I'm not going to take what that author's saying at face value. I'm going to dissect what that author's talking about, and then I'm going to tap in to see, well, is there any more information I need to know about this, or is this information even correct? And then next thing you know, I'm getting the rest of the information. But see, here's the problem. We grew up with our own teachers, our own scholars, and they did what they did for that time. And that's something that I believe 19 Keys made a point about what our elders have taught us during certain periods of time, right? But we're in a different time period now than our elders were back then. And so in the process of being in a different time period, we're learning more information is being revealed to us. And so as more information is being revealed to us during the time of this great apocalypse, we're finding out more and more new information. Now, it's not new to those who understand that you're tapping into something that you've already known. But for the average person, it's new to them because they've never heard of it before. So it throws people off when you say things that they're not used to hearing. Or they say, oh, well, such and such said this over here, but you're saying something totally different. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm tapping into a different aspect of myself that might have been there at the time when this went down. And this is what I saw, or this is what I experienced, or just a perspective. It's no different than you going and seeing an event and you got 5 people with 5 different perspectives about what they saw at the same event. There's always one universal truth, but there's many different perspectives as to the things that happen.
They had a movie about that vantage point.
That is correct. Yeah. So there's no such thing as a right and wrong answer. If people are doing the work, they just saw something from their perspective. When people go into their meditation, they saw it from their aspect's perspective about what went down. I can tell you what went down with Atlantis from my perspective, but there might be somebody else that saw something go down and they said, yeah, that did happen, but let me give you this over